Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal branding and business development company. I want to take you on a journey that takes another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal story, business conversations, and tips to improve your personal brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand podcast series, you will be able to differentiate yourself from the competition and allow you to build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build trust, and reflect who you are. Developing your 5-star personal brand is a great way to demonstrate your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh, spelled M-C-G-A-U-G-H, at 5-star BDM, B for brand, D for development, M for masters.com. Now let's begin with our next 5-star episode on Follow the Brand. Hey everybody, this is Grant McGaugh, Follow the Brand podcast. You know, not all the time I get to go out west. Not going all the way out west. We're talking about out in the New Mexico areas of life that I've been out to Phoenix, I've been to Arizona, haven't been to Mexico, but man, when I got the call that I'm going to be interviewing Crocodile Cam, I got goosebumps. I'm like, I got goosebumps. Like, what is this going to be about? So I call him up. You know, you got to call a guy like that up. Hey, Crocodile, talk to me, man. Talk to me. And he just made me feel so comfortable about what he does and how he operates with animals. And I'm telling you guys, this will be the new Steve Irwin of our time for what he does and how he does it. Because everybody's like looking online, like, what does he got in his hand? It looks bigger than him, and it is the big snake, the Medusa, right? So Cam, introduce yourself.
All right, so first I'll introduce who probably has you guys' attention. This is Medusa. Medusa is a reticulated python, also known as the longest snake in the world. They're longer than anacondas. This is also the only species of snake to ever be documented killing and eating a person. And yes, I have one on my neck right here. I bring her to show you guys that just because an animal is capable of doing some damage, when you put in the time, the effort, and the care with them, you then get a friendly and a docile animal. Now I'll introduce myself. My name is Cameron Browning. I go by Crocodile Cam, and I am an animal conservationist. My goal is to educate as many people as I can and hopefully save as many animals as I can. And I'd love to inspire the next generation the way that Steve Irwin inspired me.
I'm inspired. I tell you that. You know, I had my older brother. He was that guy that was always, playing out in the yard, he'd go to a lake, go to a pond, whatever. He's looking for any critter that he could get his and bring it home. That was his thing. So I had frogs. I had not too many snakes that I can remember, but all kinds of lizards and things like that, turtles. And I know my mother was like, "Oh my God, what's he got in his hands right now?" But he actually loved these animals. He was going to be a veterinarian. He kept telling me, "I'm going to be a veterinarian." I really, really like animals. Now I like them from afar. I'll be very, very honest. Like I don't need Medusa around my neck. That's cool. I'm not afraid. Like, cool. I'm glad you did that. I'm not afraid, but yes, I am afraid. Yes, I am. But but help us first. Let's jump right in. You talked a little bit about it. Let's demystify fear. This is the biggest thing. Now you go outside and you're maybe about to do some yard work, or you're just going out to get your newspaper or whatever it might be, and you see a snake, and you immediately get alarmed. You immediately project fear. Talk to us about how we should be dealing with this type of animals.
So that is one of my favorite questions. That just anything in that ballpark. What do I do when I see a snake? Most people's immediate reaction is, "Oh my gosh, it's a snake. It's gonna get me." And then many people's immediate reaction is, "It's a snake. The only good snake is a dead snake." And that's almost my main goal, to fight that. No snake wants to bite you. If you are ever bitten by a snake, it is only because you got in its personal space and you made it feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure everyone can understand how it feels to have someone enter their personal space and make them feel uncomfortable. Snakes don't have arms and legs. They can't run away. They can slither, but they're not that fast. Mm-hmm. So their main defense tactic is to hiss, to puff their bodies up, or to strike. And in some animals' case, in some snakes' cases, to rattle. If you see a snake, just walk away. If you walk away and come back in 5 minutes, I guarantee that snake will not be there anymore. They are terrified of us. They see us as huge threats. So when they realize that they've been seen, their goal is to get away. So if you just walk away, just act like you haven't seen them, then you're good to go. That is the only thing you got to do. With venomous snakes, they get such a bad rep. It takes so much energy to build up their venom. And for most of them, or all of them, their venom isn't meant for us, especially those venomous snakes here in the United States. Their venom isn't meant for us. It's meant for smaller animals. So a lot of the time, I want to say about a third of the time, if you get bitten by one, it's a dry bite, meaning there's no venom, because they didn't see it worth wasting so much energy on something they couldn't consume. So if you see a snake, just walk away. Respect its personal space, just like you would want your personal space respected.
Man, we're at accord with that. Walk away, no problem with that.
Yep.
I have one rule. I live in Florida. There are snakes in Florida. People heard about the giant anacondas, and there's not too many rattlesnakes, but there's some moccasins and things like that that are around. I've only seen more non-venomous snakes in my area, even though I have a canal in the back, and I've lived in my area for over 20, 25 years. I only saw like maybe 2 snakes in my entire time. I know they're there. We have a really good understanding. I don't see you. You don't see me. I'm not looking for you. You're not looking for me. It works.
And that's exactly what it is. They don't want to be seen. That's why when they are seen, they either stay still or they just try to escape immediately. Yeah. Their goal is for their camouflage to work and for them not to be seen. And sorry, she loves to climb. But yeah, that is the best course of action to take.
Now talk to us a little bit more about a python.
Okay.
They don't really bite. They more squeeze. Is that what they do?
Yeah. So every snake bites, but with venomous snakes, their bites are used to kill. They're with the exception of a few, they're not going to bite their prey and then wrap it up. Now with pythons, like Medusa here, they will grab their prey and they have rows of sharp teeth that bend backwards or curve backwards. And they will wrap up their prey and squeeze it super, super tight. And that slowly kills the prey. And then they will swallow it whole. That's exactly how it happens. Now with some snakes, like pythons, for example, they have, I don't know if you guys can see them. If you look right on the brim of her nose, there are some little holes there.
Yeah.
Those are heat pits. And that allows the snake to basically create a perfect thermal image in almost pitch blackness. That is for snakes that usually hunt at night. They will have their slitted eyes. So that's pythons, boas, and vipers. But then you have snakes that will hunt during the day. and that are, king snakes, rat snakes, and even different kinds of snakes like bull snakes or gopher snakes, excuse me. They will hunt largely during the day because they don't have those heat pits. They have to rely on their eyesight and their motion tracking abilities to catch whatever they're hunting.
Now, let me ask you this. What is the most, if you had to say, I bet most people don't know this
Okay.
about snakes. Now, we all have our assumptions about certain things, and we all think that, well, that assumption must be true because a lot of people have that assumption, so it must be fact. Talk to us a little bit more about snakes that people need to know.
Okay. One of my favorite things is people always try to tell me, oh, that snake's sizing you up to eat you one day. Everyone's heard the story of the lady who she had her snake and, one day it stopped eating and it would lay in bed and she took it to the vet because she was concerned and the vet told her, oh, that snake's trying to size you up to eat you. Snakes don't do that. Snakes don't do that at all. Even in the wild, sometimes they make mistakes and they try to eat things that are a little bit too big for them. But that's just not something that will happen. And while this is the only snake that has ever been documented killing and eating a person, it has never happened with a captive snake. It's only ever happened in the wild, which is completely different in Southern Asia. So we're not worrying about that here. But that's one thing. And if a snake was to even get close to eating a person, that snake would have to be almost 18 feet. So for people who are seeing, maybe 8-foot snakes, 10-foot snakes, that snake cannot eat you. You don't need to worry about that. You do want to make sure you respect that snake because it could still have potentially a nasty bite, but you are not going to get eaten by that animal. Another thing that a lot of people believe is baby venomous snakes, like baby rattlesnakes, are more dangerous than the adults because they can't control their venom. And when they bite you, they just empty their venom glands. That's also not true. Baby venomous snakes have great control of their venom glands, and they have the exact same venom as the adults. It's just not as much. So, if anything, you're actually a little bit better off if you're unfortunately bitten by a baby venomous snake. Those are the two larger misconceptions. Another thing is the only good snake is a dead snake.
Yeah.
I can't tell you guys how far from the truth that is. We need snakes. We need them in this world. Not only do they keep a number of different animal populations in check, they are also food sources for other animals. Different birds of prey, foxes, eat snakes. We need them. They are a critical part of the ecosystem and of the food chain. A world without snakes is not a world that you want to live in.
Well, I believe that. And because you see it all the time, and nature and how it operates, everybody's in its own place, and without that, you get imbalances, right?
Yeah.
So what take your choice. Do you want one snake or you want a whole bunch of rodents running around? So
yeah.
So you find now we said you're in New Mexico. Tell us a little bit more about where you're at, and tell us more about the business that you have, so our audience will understand that.
Okay, so I am in a little town called Las Vegas, New Mexico. Population maybe 13,000. It is quite literally like the Wild West. You can see tumbleweeds. You'll see a random road runner sometimes. We have bears, mountain lions, bobcats, just all types of stuff. We're in the middle of where the desert meets the mountains. So yesterday it was sunny, and today we got 5 inches of snow. It's very interesting. They actually film a lot of different movies and shows out here because of how old some of the buildings look. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with Roswell.
Yeah.
That show on Netflix. They filmed some of that out here, not in Roswell, New Mexico. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying that, but I saw the signs and everything, and it's really cool. I went to Highlands University out here, and I played football and ran track. I was also fortunate enough to be able to take several biology classes and forestry classes.
Yeah.
And I regularly do work with wildlife biologists out here. The main one that I work with is a guy named Dorian Miranda. He is a snapping turtle expert. It is my honor to be able to call him a friend. For those of you who are pretty into biology and potentially herpetology, he works under Dr. Jesus Rivas, who is the #1 researcher in anacondas in the world. And he was the one who discovered the most recent new species of green anaconda. So wanted to brag on my friend a little bit just because he's a great individual. But I have been out here because there are such unique ecosystems here. We have literally within a 2-hour drive, I can go to mountains, I can get to the desert, I can drive to mesas and different forests and find a number of different animals. We have such a wide variety of snakes and other reptiles and amphibians here, which I personally am a very big fan of. And there is so much for me to do here. And when I say that because one, I do snake rescue and removal, where people can call me where they have snakes on their property and they're like, hey, can you come take this snake? And unfortunately, a lot of the time it is, if you don't come get this snake, I'm going to kill it. And I'm immediately on the way.
Yeah.
And that includes rattlesnakes of any size. That also includes bull snakes or coach whips. And while I'm there, I'm educating the person of whose property it is. I'm letting them know, hey, these snakes are really important. Are you sure you want me to remove it from your property or just let it go somewhere else on your property? Mm-hmm. Because we need these animals. I have saved a few dozen lives of snakes in doing that. And I can't tell you how much of an honor it is for me to do so. Another thing that I get to do is I get to bring these animals to schools, both elementary and high school so far. And I'm working on some universities where I get to teach kids about these animals. The most important lesson is you don't need to be afraid of them. You just need to respect them. And more importantly, we need to protect them. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite quotes, and I may not get it 100% right, but one of my favorite quotes is, if we don't teach the children about the animals that we share this planet with, then there will be no one to protect the animals that we share this planet with when we're gone. Mm-hmm. And my goal is always to teach kids to protect animals. It's okay to be afraid, even though you don't need to be. But the most important thing that we need to do is protect these animals, because it's not our planet, it is our planet, and yes, we are all sharing. And in my experiences so far, every time I go somewhere to teach kids or to teach high schoolers, I am always very well received, because these children would have never gotten an experience like this before. And I love it so much.
I love it too, because I just remember in my childhood, that's when I was closest. I was closest to nature when I was little.
Okay.
And we were investigative, imaginative. We were looking under rocks, right? You're going out, you're seeing all kinds of the different bugs and different things, and all kinds of different things going on. But I grew up fishing, right? I love fishing. Go out.
I love it.
And that was so. When I go fishing, for me, I was in tune with the entire natural cycle of life. The giving and taking of life that's just constantly happening. all the
Yep.
time. It's just what it is. So, like, if I'm in my boat and I'm fishing, I see a snake, I'm not going to go run after it. Like, that's where it's in its own world. I'm just
Yep.
happy, like you said, you don't want to make it uncomfortable. You're just like, oh, it's over there. It's not bothering me. I'm not bothering it. And you just keep it going. We always
Yeah.
hear these myths. See, I'm in Florida, right? So they always talk about these wild, gigantic dinosaur anacondas that are out there, eating crocodiles. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't any out there.
Yeah.
There are some pretty large snakes that are not indigenous to the area, probably
Yep.
from people not knowing how to take care of them. They're releasing them and then not realizing what that does long term. And now you got a whole new species of snake in an area that normally they would not be,
Yep.
because of man's intervention. But we're part of that whole cycle of life as well. And I like how you just kind of alluded to that. Like, we sometimes think we're separated from all the different forms of life
Yeah.
on this planet. And we're just one of millions of other forms of life. And what you just said earlier about, hey, we just found a new species of snake. You would think, oh, we know everything. We've been here. We've documented it all. There's nothing new under the sun. And yet, boom, here's something new.
Yep.
Educate us some more, because this is what you do. You're an educator. First, tell me about your brand, meaning you got this moniker, the Crocodile Cam, right? So people are thinking, oh, Crocodile Cam, that sounds pretty cool. The next generation, Steve Irwin. Talk to us about where you're at now in your career and like where you want to be and how you're growing your brand.
So right now, most of my interactions and most of my reach is on social media. I actually looked a few minutes before we started this podcast. And in the past year on Twitter alone, I have been able to reach 970 million people worldwide.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I've now had I've had family members call me and say, yeah, I brought you up randomly in conversation and people knew who you were. And it is so heartwarming. So social media now is where my greatest reach is. With things in person, that is where I feel I can do the most work, though, if that makes sense.
Sure.
For example, I go to events where I just stand there and I let people come up to take pictures with, one of my snakes. And dozens of times now, there have been people who walked up to me and said, I'm afraid of snakes. And that's what I look for. I get so excited. I'm like a kid almost. And I literally tell them, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do this slowly. I will hold the snake's head away from them and I'll hold the tail towards them. And I'll say, hey, just touch the tail. Do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And they get so relaxed when they see how relaxed the snake is. So that is a large part of what I'm doing. I have put up several different posts that have all gotten a couple million views where I'm showing an animal that is endangered or that's population is really struggling in the wild. I add a couple educational posts about it. And then I finish that post with a donation spot for conservation with that animal. The two most recent ones that I've done was for snow leopards and for polar bears. And, people don't realize that animals that we grew up with are struggling. People are always surprised when I tell them we might see tigers and cheetahs go extinct in the wild in either our lifetimes or our children's lifetimes. And that hits people really hard because there's only a few thousand of them left.
Tigers.
And, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's because of us. We have destroyed their habitats. We have hunted them to the brink of endangerment and even extinction. And then that goes with poaching. That goes with the illegal pet trade. It's unbelievably sad that we are losing so many animals. And many people don't even realize it or realize how grave it is. Or
we've taken it for granted, and we don't realize that we grow our cities, or we're doing pollution, and how we're endangering. Not only we always talk about the planet, talk about Green Day and stuff like that. It's just all the other living things on the planet. I say anything that gives life, is alive.
Yeah,
it's a living thing, and the earth is a living thing. It gives life all the time. So we're endangering it to survive to a certain degree. Imagine what it's doing to these populations. You just shocked me with the whole tiger thing. But we only see them in a zoo. We think, we've heard some things about elephants. We've heard some other things on certain kinds of fish and mammals. And I think we underestimate another thing about the intelligence of these animals and their capabilities. I'm cat sitting myself. I hadn't been around a cat in about 20 plus years. And this cat surprised the agility, the flexibility, and the understanding of this cat. And its own being, and it's so different from a dog. It's just a different type of vibe happening there with this cat.
Yep.
So I imagine, like, I'm watching this your snake go through many generations. First, he was kind of moving her all around, kind of I got to get all over the place, and now just kind of chilling, and just kind of into a different mood with you. But you're very, very calm, with it as well. You're very now. You told me, I think earlier, you got about 20 pets. Ready to elevate your brand with 5-star impact? Welcome to the Funnel Brand Podcast, your gateway to exceptional personal growth and innovative business strategies. Join me as I unveil the insider strategies of industry pioneers and branding experts. Discover how to supercharge your business development, harness the power of AI for growth, and sculpt a personal brand that stands out in the crowd. Transform ambition into achievement. Explore more at firestarbdm.com for a wealth of resources. Ignite your journey with our Brave Brand Blueprint and begin crafting your standout 5-star future today.
So right now I have 18 snakes in my house. 16 of them are mine. Actually, I lied. It's 17 now. I was able to find a home for one of the 2 that I'm rehoming. 16 of the 17 are mine. And that last one is currently being nursed back to health. He had a bad case of nose rub, which occurs when a snake keeps rubbing their face on usually the glass of their enclosure. It wears down and it can be pretty nasty. Yeah. So I've been putting just a small layer of, I think it's called like new skin or something, on the snake's nose without covering its nostrils. And I've been doing that every other day to allow this snake to slowly get back in better health. Once the snake has reached a satisfying point of health and the snake is eating for me as well, I will then start to look for a new home for it.
Okay.
The rest of my snakes, which is there's 16 of them, all but 2 of them were either rescued from either just a horrible living situation or from if you don't come get this snake, I'm going to kill it situation, or they were rehomed to me because the person who had it just couldn't take care of it anymore. That means so much more to me than buying any snake. It means the world to me to get to give an animal a second and a better chance at life. My current biggest snake and probably my calmest snake is an 8 foot, probably 8'6" or 7 inch long red tail boa constrictor. Wow. Her name is Hildy. And the guy who I got her from told me that she was way too aggressive and that she was always trying to bite people. And that was a large reason why no one took her. You know, anytime someone would try to grab her or, you know, take her out of her enclosure, she was striking at him, trying to bite him. He had her in a small enclosure with no water and newspaper. You know, it wasn't the best living environment. And I built her enclosure like I've built several of my other snakes' enclosures. I gave her more than enough space to crawl around. I gave her a large water bowl to really soak in. And now she is probably the calmest snake that I have. She is the one that I have literally handed to 4-year-old little girls and not even batted an eye. You know, everybody around is, oh my gosh, you know, freaking out. And I know this is the last snake that you will have to worry about doing something crazy. So that's kind of the breakdown of my snakes. All of them are used for educational purposes. Mm-hmm. If you look at any of my social medias, you can just look up Crocodile Cam or Crocodile Cam _ anywhere, and you'll find me. But all of my snakes are used for educational purposes. I teach people about their Latin names. I teach people about their diets, their environments, how to handle them, what to do if you see them. And that includes venomous snakes. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that when I work with venomous snakes, I'm much more cautious than I am with this one. Sure. You know, I have the proper tools that I'm using, and I'm not touching them with my hands, not like this. Yeah. Because while I do want to make what I do entertaining, it's also very important to me that it's educational. Sure. I want people to learn something from what I'm doing, and I want to inspire people to hopefully either do something similar to it or just be more mindful about protecting the animals that we share this planet with.
I got a question for you.
Okay, what's up?
That now are any snakes vegetarian, or are they all just meat eaters?
Oh, no, there aren't any vegetarian snakes. There are some snakes that almost only eat insects, though. Okay. For example, ringneck snakes. You know, you'll only see them eating invertebrates, which is animals without spines. So just bugs, you know, just the broad term. And those snakes are actually venomous, but their venom does almost nothing to people. Okay. You know, it would be generous to say that it's even on the same level as a bee sting. You know, there's other snakes like many garter snakes, mm-hmm. especially when they're small. They're eating anything that they're lucky enough to be able to overpower. And a lot of times that's different invertebrates, crickets, you know, stuff like that, snails, different things that they are able to overpower and consume. Mm-hmm. But the larger snakes, they are eating meat, rodents, birds, lizards, other snakes. And then when you get to the real big snakes, they're eating deer, you know, crocodilians. Yeah, a capybara. It can definitely become a very interesting sight to see if you ever come across it.
I didn't want to see that, but we've heard about it. There's a very popular picture out on the internet where I think a big giant anaconda had eaten a crocodile. Yep. And then I think he got too big in its stomach or something. Anyway, they both died, and it was heck.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that one was a Burmese python. Yeah. With a larger, one of the larger Florida gators, which literally the same thing as what you just described. And as I said earlier, sometimes they eat things that are too big for them. And they either regurgitate it or they both end up going. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. These are interesting conversations that I want people to learn. Like, here's my. So you're out in the wild. Where do snakes hang out? Are they really in the ground, or do they rest out on top of the ground, or really depends on the species? Where do you find these animals?
So it depends on the species. It depends on the time of day. It depends on the time of year.
Mhm.
There's snow on the ground outside right now. I'm not going to find anything out there. But if we go to monsoon season, when it's warm and it's raining a ton, you can drive down the road and find snakes. When it is a warm day and the sun finally goes down, you can drive down the road and find them crossing the road or on the road basking. Now in that's in America.
Yeah.
There's different places where you can go if in the woods. If you see pieces of tin or pieces of wood, you can flip them over and sometimes you'll see a snake. But be careful because America has vipers.
Mm.
Rattlesnakes are vipers. Copperheads are vipers. Water moccasins are vipers. They will put you in the hospital. Be careful when you're doing that, if you do that. But literally just flipping random rocks. Those are all very common places for snakes to be. If you ever see a snake out and about, you caught that snake trying to sneak around because they don't want to be seen. But those are the places where you can find them. Chances are, if you go on a walking trail, you probably walked past 5 to 6 different snakes that day, and you were fine because they don't want to bother you. They just want to be left alone and they don't want to be seen. You can also find them in the trees sometimes. But again, that depends on where you are in the world, what species it is. Here in the United States, we have some rattlesnakes that'll climb trees, but that's because they hunt birds. You can see different rat snakes in trees hunting birds or other rodents like squirrels and chipmunks. But it truly, truly depends.
Now, do they have to eat every day, or is it very cyclical in how they?
Oh, nope. They so in the wild, snakes can go months.
Really?
Because they're not like dogs and cats. They can't chase their prey down. A lot of them are ambush predators. Now, there are some snakes that chase their prey down. I have 2 of them. They're 2 western coach whips. The Latin name is, these are subspecies, but the Latin name is Masticophis flagellum pisceus. They're also known as red racers. These are the fastest snakes in North America. And they can go, I want to say about 4 to 6 miles an hour. And they'll stick their heads up and they have great eyesight. And as soon as they see any kind of movement, they take off and they are chasing their prey down. Now, they'll eat a little bit more frequently, but ambush predators like Medusa here, she hasn't eaten in a month. I fed her last month. And then when I was going to feed her this month, I noticed that she was shedding.
Yeah.
That was 2.5 weeks ago. She shedded yesterday and she still hasn't eaten and she's perfectly fine. I have another python, a carpet python named Persia. She went 6 months without eating. Now, that wasn't on me. I tried to feed her. Yeah. Sometimes they just don't want to eat. So you don't have to feed them every day. You just, if you're having one as a pet, I recommend when they're young, either once a week, once every other week. And as they continue getting larger and older, you can switch to once every 2 weeks or once a month. She is at the point where she's eating once a month. When she gets really big, it'll probably be once every 1.5 months.
Now,
but as they get,
what is she eating?
So, all of my snakes are eating either mice, rats, chickens, ducks, or rabbits.
Uh-huh.
And that is at different stages of those animals' lives. So sometimes it may be some baby mice or baby rats or chicks or ducklings, or a younger rabbit. It depends on the size of the animal. I'm getting towards feeding my snakes frozen thawed, which is where the animals were raised at a facility euthanize their frozen so that way they don't decay. And then you thaw them and feed them and warm them up and feed them to the snake. But some snakes won't eat like that. So sometimes I do have to buy those live animals, whether it's the birds or the rodents, and I'll put them in the enclosure and I'll let the snake do its thing. And I always monitor it because if you walk away, the snake could get hurt because rodents will eat meat.
Yeah.
And if your snake doesn't eat that rodent could eat your snake. Yeah, and it can be pretty dangerous. So you always want to keep an eye on that kind of stuff.
That's very interesting. Like, who's going to win this fight, right? But you got to know your snake. That's not like you have to be paying attention when you're a snake owner and understanding the cycles and then the changes that they go through over time. You need to do some study. You need a person like you that truly understands that whole life cycle from beginning to end and what it's like. And then I love how you stated, know the type of snake that you're dealing with, because even you dealing with a viper, you got to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's literally like dealing with a house cat or a mountain lion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're both cats, but one of them could do some serious damage to you, you know? And you don't need to be afraid of that animal, but you need to respect what that animal is capable of.
Right.
Like even with her, if she were to bite me, I'd bleed, but I'm not going to die. I probably won't even have to go to the hospital. And that's at this size right now. Now, as she gets bigger, I may need to go get stitches. But I understand that's what she's capable of. And this entire conversation, while I've been handling her, I am constantly aware of her body language. Had she shown me any signs of, you need to put me down right now, or you're going to get bit, I would have paused this. I would have went and gone and put her down. And I probably would have just grabbed another snake and been like, hey, you want to come out now?
Yeah.
It is all about knowing, just like you said, knowing what you're dealing with. And yeah, that's part of why I love doing it, because I have so many different snakes. You know, if I have tons of videos of me actually getting bitten that I've posted.
Well, you know, that gives you that vulnerability. Everybody think, oh, well, he never gets bit. He's this snake animal, but you are dealing with a wild animal.
Yep.
An animal has, you know, certain moods when, like they say, might feel uncomfortable, even though you're not doing anything different. But for it, it's in a different moon set. Very interesting. I like the transparency of what you just said. Now you're in Las Vegas. Have you ever gone to, you know, the Las Vegas most people hear about and do a show? You ever done that?
So I'm actually working on that now. I signed to a media agency 6 or 7 months ago, called Evolutionary Media.
Yeah.
They are the first Black-owned media agency in South Carolina.
Nice.
So I'm super fortunate to have signed with them. They have done a great job marketing me, helping me build my brand, and helping me reach more.
Yeah.
While I believe I would have been able to achieve a lot of great things on my own, I would not be here without them.
Well, that's how we met, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be here. But they have partnerships with some people out in Las Vegas, Nevada, where they are talking about bringing me out there with 1, 2, 3 of my snakes to do educational and entertaining shows where I teach people about the animals, and then people get to come up, ask me questions, take a picture with the animal, and hopefully overcome a fear and learn something new. So that is the goal. Best case scenario, you'll be seeing that here in the next couple months, probably when it warms up a little bit more, though.
I love to see you out, you know, doing your thing. I want you to blow up all the way and say, man, I knew him when, you know. But I think you're well on your way. You said, you know, 970 million people have already seen your content and interacted with you. And I think you've got an open market when you look at the competitive landscape. Because no one has been as big as probably Steve Irwin when he was doing his thing, and he was very adventurous. I went back and I was telling you earlier when I was growing up, I was all into Wild Kingdom and Jacques Cousteau. And it was interesting. And me and my brother, we sat there like, Jacques Cousteau's. I'm like, wow, I wonder where he's going. What are you going to see? And I was in tune with that. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. So then when you go to the zoo, you had a better appreciation if you saw some animals, but they're different, ultimately different out in the wild and
Yeah.
how they're actually operating and, and what's happening. And I think people we need to educate ourselves about how our human behaviors are
Ooh, check
affected
it out.
these animals,
Oh,
things like that.
she just yawned. She had her mouth all open. Sorry. But yeah, no, my bad. That's just something rare that you catch.
No, that's great. Now we got it on. We got it on camera. I see that
Yeah.
tongue just came out.
But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. No. Going along those thoughts. We're getting ready to wrap up here, but I just wanted to first appreciate what you do, and I don't think there's a lot of people doing what you do to educate us about species, life forms outside of ourselves, and that we interact with. And there's all kinds of different species of snake, like you just said. There's many types. But you're helping us to understand it better, because when you see something that looks to be slithering and it looks to be a little bit slimy, but snakes are slimy. That's another myth.
Yeah, they're dry. They feel it's just like literally scaly skin. It's dry. That's one of the first things everyone says. Oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like what I thought it would. It feels so weird, but it's not slimy.
100. And then some people in some parts of the world, even probably even North America, they actually eat snakes. Snakes are part of the human diet.
And I know people who eat. They've had rattlesnake. That people eat pythons. Even in Florida, where you're at, I know it's common for people to eat pythons. They're an invasive species. You want to get them out of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's not an uncommon thing. And in situations like that, I don't say too much, because that's part of people's diets, and that also may be a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is when people are just killing snakes.
Well, we want to talk about that earlier when we were talking. Okay. You talked about the abuse again. How you treat an animal is how it's going to immediately treat someone else or treat yourself. Yep. Because they're just reflecting on that behavior. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? So she's over there basking right now. So I have a Burmese python.
Yeah.
That is the kind of snake that is super famous in Florida for being super invasive. Now I have this snake. It could not survive. I could let all of my snakes go in the wild out here, and just because of the environment here, none of them would survive, except for the snakes that you can already find here, like the different rattlesnakes that I have or the coach whips that I have. The rest of them, they'd freeze to death, or they would die from dehydration. Mm-hmm. But I have a Burmese python, and she is about a year old. I named her Cinnamon. She's really beautiful. Love her to death. When I first got her, she was striking at me every chance she got. I have videos of her biting my hand. I have videos of her striking at my face. And what they'll do a lot of times is they'll wait until you look away just for half a second, and then boom, they're gone. She was very angry with me, very defensive, because snakes aren't aggressive. The only time they bite is when they want to defend themselves.
Yeah.
But she was very defensive. She saw me as a threat, and I slowly worked with her. I got bit a lot, or I got almost bit a lot, but I worked with her. It was a multiple times a week thing where I was handling her. I would take her out of the enclosure. I'd put her on my hat. I just walk around with her and do chores. I'd vacuum, I'd do whatever. And it got her used to me and used to the smell of people. Mm-hmm. It got her used to being handled by people. And now I would feel comfortable bringing her to an event where kids are or where high schoolers are, because she hasn't shown any kind of defensive behavior. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you were talking about. When you put in the time and the care and the effort, that's exactly what you get back. Now, there are times where it can be very hard to get that back. I don't ever say it's impossible, but it can be very, very hard. For example, the rattlesnakes that I have, I don't think that I will, except for the 3 that were rehomed to me. They were born in captivity. They have never experienced danger before. Outside of those 3, I don't think I'll ever be able to handle, with my hands, the rattlesnakes that I rescued from the wild.
Right. Okay.
From the, if you don't come get this animal, I'm going to kill it. I don't see that ever happening. But I do see them getting to the point where they won't rattle when I walk near them anymore. Because now I understand, I'm not in danger. I don't want to be, don't touch me, but I'm not in danger.
We not that cool.
Yeah. And then I actually am working on one of my snakes right now. It is one of my 2 coach whips. I named them Majin and Buu. I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan.
Yeah.
But the female Buu, she is not happy with me. The male, he's super cool, but the female, anytime I try to handle her, she's trying to bite me. Now, when I handle her, the frequency in which she is trying to bite me has slowly been becoming less and less. And I'm getting bitten a lot, but it helps. It's
they realize they're not hurting you. They're maybe like, well, there's got to be something else. He's still around. He's still
exactly. And that's another reason why I also post the videos of me getting bitten, because I get bit, I remain calm, I'll laugh it off, and I'll go right back to teaching.
Right.
I had a snake literally bite me on the forehead.
Wow.
I laughed it off, and I posted that video. I laughed it off and went right back to teaching.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to see me get bitten and just freak out, because that works against what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Which is tell people you don't need to be afraid of these animals. You just got to respect them. Now I'm getting bit because I'm handling them.
Yeah.
If I just left the snake alone, I wouldn't have gotten bit.
Right.
But yeah, to what you were asking, when you put in the work, you really do get to reap what you sow in a very positive manner.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. What you put in, you get out. I love that about these animals. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. We want to see more of you. You've got to let the audience know how to contact you. So they can tune in, and I can't wait to see you at one of these shows. I know you about to blow. I need to get your autograph.
Oh man, I was thinking the same about you. I literally, when we got on, I'm looking at all the awards and pictures behind you. I'm like, and I'd already heard about how big of a deal you were, man. And you come across as very humble. I don't think you'd be the guy to be like, well, do you know who I am?
Nah.
I know who you are, man. And I meant to say it earlier, but thank you for having me on. It is an honor. It really, really is. And then to hear some of the kind things that you said about me, I can't tell you how much that means to me. So thanks
from the heart, man. It is straight from the heart. And thank you again for being on the show. And those are authentic testimonials that I love to have and let people hear it real time. What was it like for you? And then they hear it, they're like, yeah. That was special. That was great. So some people, you got your handles. Give us the Instagrams. Where can we find you?
So if you search Crocodile Cam, that is CrocodileCam, or Crocodile Cam _ on any platform, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, that you can find me. I am posting regularly on all of those platforms. I currently try to go live pretty regularly on TikTok. Nice. I'm working on doing that more on both Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on all of those platforms. I am posting regularly. Now on Twitter, a lot of people will tag me in random animal posts. Those big pages, they'll just post things for views. So they'll post, some animal that most people haven't seen before. And they'll say, oh my gosh, what kind of animal is this? Most people don't know. So they tag me at Crocodile Cam. Oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
I try to respond as quickly as I can. I make a whole educational post about it, what it is, where it's from. And then I answer, can you have it as a pet? Because a lot of people ask those questions. Now, forewarning, most of the time, the answer is no, you can't have it as a pet, or yes, you can have it as a pet, but you shouldn't.
Right.
But, Twitter is definitely where I'm most active on, but you can reach me on any of those platforms. And then I also have an email where people can reach out to me for booking for different events.
Oh, grab your shirt. Make sure you grab your shirt.
Yeah, I meant to show you guys. So I have T-shirts. How does that look? Can you?
Crocodile Cam. Yes.
Yep. And then on the back, also the logo was done by a local Atlanta artist.
Okay.
Named Bam.
Bam. Got it.
Yeah. I've tagged him in the work. He does amazing artwork. And then on the back is my slogan, discover, learn, and protect, with my QR code that takes you to all of my socials. I have a GoFundMe that I use to take care of.
Tell us about that offer you got that if somebody sees you at a show. Tell us about that.
Oh, man. So I ordered 30 shirts. I believe 4 of them have been given away now. They're not for sale yet. If you follow me on socials, every once in a while, I do random animal trivia where it's a couple questions, and whoever gets those questions right first, I'll do like the first 3 people to get them right. They win T-shirts.
Yeah.
I personally mail them to you. You don't come out of pocket at all. Now, in that package, I will be including a letter. The letter is thanking you. The letter is explaining that in you having faith in me, you have now saved animals. You have now contributed to conserving the habitats and the livelihood of a number of different animals. And you have contributed to teaching more people about these animals. And I finish it by saying, and as a token of my gratitude, whenever I get to the point to where I am doing big shows, to where there's a large crowd of people, you can now use this letter as a free ticket to get in.
Yes.
It is a thank you from me to you because you had faith in me before I got to this point.
Oh, man.
And
I want one of those. I got to get me one. I'm going
to have to send you one, man. I only have 30 of these shirts, so only 30 people will get this opportunity.
Awesome.
But it does nothing but make me want to work harder.
Yeah.
I don't want you holding on to some random letter for me to not.
Oh, the shirt is valuable. You've been doing this great service for everybody, educating us, and you're doing a great job getting your brand out into the market, so we can then take care. We're going to participate in something that's good for everybody.
Yes.
And understanding what we're doing here. So this has been wonderful. I want to tune in to all your episodes, and I want your entire audience to tune in to all my episodes. They can go to 5-star BDM. That's the number 5. That's star STAR. It's B for brand, D for development, infomasters.com. Everyone, go check out Crocodile Cam and really, really get into what he's doing. Bring your kids, bring everybody, because this is going to be important. So thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And then Medusa's been trying to crawl towards the camera. See,
look at that. I love that.
Grant, right. I can't thank you enough, man. Genuinely.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Follow Brand Podcast. Big thanks to Full Effect Productions for their incredible support on each and every episode. Now the journey continues on our YouTube channel, Follow Brand TV series. Dive into exclusive interviews, extended content, and bonus insights that will fuel your success. Subscribe now and be a part of our growing community, sharing and learning together. Explore, engage, and elevate at Follow Brand TV series on YouTube. Stay connected, stay inspired. Till next time, we will continue building a 5-star brand that you can follow.